In this episode, we talk about the Congress's Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra in Assam. We also talk about demolitions in Mumbai just days after violence broke out during the Pran Pratishtha ceremony in Ayodhya. But first, we talk about the Ram Temple movement, the origins of which can be traced back to the mid-18th century. Hi, I'm Rahul Philippos, and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Beginning with the Mughals, extending through the British colonial era and reaching into the present, the dispute over Ayodhya has witnessed numerous milestones, often accompanied by deep conflict and even bloodshed. With the consecration of the Ram Temple taking place on Monday, the Indian Express's Vikas Pathak joins my colleague Niharika Nanda to look back at the movement's history and how it has changed course over the years. So Vikas, can you begin by telling us what started the dispute over this piece of land in the very first place?
Look, the dispute is very old, and there's plenty of evidence that there was a popular perception in Ayodhya for a very, very long time that the place where the Babri Masjid stood had been a place where there was either a temple or a castle dedicated to Lord Ram. So, in fact, some of the earliest visitors to Ayodhya from Europe, that is, there was William Finch, who was British and who came to India along with, the earliest people of the East India Company. He visited Ayodhya in the time of Jahangir. So, in his memoirs, he writes that there were ruins of a palace or a structure that the locals said was dedicated to Ramchandra. Then, a few decades later, there was another traveler who was from the Dutch East India Company, one of the directors of it. He also recorded the same thing. Right. So, which means that two separate sources that were European recorded a popular perception. Because of that, actually, while the Babri Masjid carried a kind of an inscription or a plaque that said that Mir Baqi, the general of Babur, had constructed it in 1528. But there is also some evidence by some writers who claim that perhaps the demolition was done in Aurangzeb's time by his cousin Finai Khan. But that popular perception or a collective memory became a recurring feature of Ayodhya and was recorded over and over again by people. And that, led to a very long-standing dispute. So, in fact, when the Marathas became very influential in the 18th century, and the Maratha Sardars were also found throughout North India, they had twice in 1751 and 1756, petitioned the Nawab of Awadh to hand over Ayodhya, Kashi and Mathura to them. But that never happened.
Right. And after the British judicial records make a mention about the dispute, you also point out in your piece that they decided not to intervene, saying that the status quo should not be changed. But apart from this, do we have any other records documenting episodes of violence?
So, like in 1855, there was an episode of violence when, British informed the Nawab of Awadh that there was a person, Ghulam Muhammad Hussain, who had, gathered a large number of troops and was planning to attack Hanuman Gadi near the Babri Masjid. And since this was announced by the British, many Naga sadhus and Bairagis and locals, they also armed themselves. And when the clash really took place in July 1855, on one day, something like 75 people were killed, largely Muslims. And on that day, the Hindus not just defended Hanuman Gadi, but they also took temporary possession of what they called the Janmsthan, which is inside the Babri Masjid. Then in 1885, there was Mahant Raghubar Das, who actually petitioned the British saying that I should be allowed to construct a Ram temple around the Ram Chabutra, which was inside the Babri Masjid precincts. But that permission was turned down. It was said that one, even if there's a popular perception, you cannot correct historical wrongs now. And second, it was also said that this may lead to serious law and order problems. So all these disputes, they came over and over again.
And Vikas, after this period, the major incidents of violence we saw were during L.K. Advani's Rath Yatra, which began from Somnath to Ayodhya. Talk to us about that period.
So, around September, October 1990, at that time, there were riots across different parts of India. And it is said that roughly 600 people were killed. That apart, when Advani was arrested in Samastipur by Lalu Prasad Yadav in Bihar, a car seva that was supposed to happen on 30th October. So Advani was arrested, but many people quietly slipped into UP. So on October 30th, there was police firing on car sevaks to prevent them from storming the mosque. Some people were killed then. And then on November 2, once again, car sevaks tried to reach there. And there was again police firing in which, two brothers from Bikaner, the Kothari brothers, Ram Kumar Kothari and Sharad Kothari, were both killed in police firing. So these were some of the episodes of violence directly related to the Ayodhya, movement.
Yeah, and also over the years, people also reported some supposedly miraculous events in this case. Can you tell us about some of them and their significance in the movement?
Yeah, one was the statement of that Muslim police constable called Abdul Barkat, who has been cited by Justice Devki Nandan as giving a statement that he saw a light, and then within that light he saw a figure of a very godlike child appear, and he fainted. And when he regained his senses, by that time the lock of the Babri Masjid was open and a large crowd of Hindus had entered. That was one. The other is another very, surprising thing. That was in 1986, a district judge in Faizabad ordered the opening of the locks of the Babri Masjid so that Hindus can go and pray there. So this judge, his name was K.M. Pandey. And he later wrote a book, Voice of Conscience, which is his memoirs. And he claimed in that book that when he was pronouncing the judgment, a black monkey came and sat on top of the roof of the courtroom. And people offered it fruits, etc. It did not eat anything. And once he delivered the judgment that the gates be opened for Hindus to offer prayers, and he went back to his residence, he saw the same black monkey in his lawn. And he thought that it was some divine providence, and he saluted the monkey. So this has been recorded by K.M. Pandey himself, and this anecdote you can find in Balbir Punj's book on Ayodhya.
And Vikas, during this period, a lot of different organizations came up. Which was the first one to take up this issue?
Yeah, so, let me first say which was the first organization to take it up. That was Hindu Mahasabha. 1949, the Hindu Mahasabha was the first organization to demand a Ram temple at Ayodhya. Hindu Mahasabha is no longer prominent. Soon after independence, it gradually lost steam. But the tradition of the Hindu Mahasabha, do remember, is still alive, because one of the most prominent leaders of the Hindu Mahasabha used to be Mahant Digvijaynath of Gorakhpur. And that Gorakhnath Peeth of Gorakhpur, it is from that tradition that Yogi Adityanath comes. Right. So this organization, the Hindu Mahasabha, made a demand as early as 1949. Then after that, it was the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, which took it up in a major way from 1984, from its Dharm Sansad. VHP is an affiliate of the RSS. So the first RSS person to take up this issue in the early 1980s was Morpant Pingle. And the VHP then got very active with it. And they also planned a series of campaigns. One was the Ram Janki Yatra of 1984, after the Dharm Sansad. And to provide protection to that Yatra in UP, a youth wing called the Bajrang Dal was created. So Bajrang Dal is the youth wing of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, which is an RSS affiliate.
And as far as the BJP and the Congress parties are concerned, how did their stance regarding the entire dispute evolve over the years?
The BJP associated itself with this movement in 1989 with the Palampur resolution, where the party said that it wanted the restoration of Ayodhya, Mathura and Kashi to the Hindus. And the next year, L.K. Advani started the Rath Yatra. Of course, within the BJP also, remember, while that was the official line of the BJP from 1989 onwards, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was not very keen about it. So Vajpayee never visited Ayodhya between the 1990 and 92 phase. And that apart, Jaswant Singh was also not very keen about it at all. It said that when the Palampur resolution was passed by the BJP, Jaswant Singh was so disturbed that he stormed out of the meeting of the National Executive and walked all the way to the railway station. So the official line of the BJP was that, but it was not as if the entire party was on the same page regarding it. In the Congress never took an official line for the Ayodhya movement, but in the Congress there were always elements, some people who had sympathies for the Ayodhya movement. First is, of course, as I said, Baba Raghav Das, the Faizabad MLA, in whose memory a postage stamp was brought out in 1998 by the Vajpayee government. Then you also had Daud Dayal Khanna. He actually started talking about the Ram temple some 5 years or 6 years before the BJP started doing it. There was Gulzari Lal Nanda. Then Rajiv Gandhi himself gave very confused signals. So Rajiv Gandhi, while he never supported the movement openly, but then Rajiv Gandhi started the Ramayana teleserial when Justice K.M. Pandey ordered that the locks of the Babri Masjid be opened. The government immediately opened them. Right. That apart, Rajiv Gandhi allowed the Shilanyas in 1989. In 1989, he began his Lok Sabha campaign from Ayodhya, and he also enrolled Arun Govil, who played the role of Ram in the teleserial Ramayana, as a campaigner for the Congress. But of course, the party never officially supported the movement.
And this entire movement really came to its fore in 1992, which was also a watershed moment in Indian politics. Tell us how it all unfolded.
Yeah, so a car seva had been announced on December 6th. And, an assurance had also been given by leaders of the BJP that it will just be a car seva, no harm will come to the mosque. And so the car seva was permitted. Now, on that day, L.K. Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Pramod Mahajan, Vijay Raje Sindhia, Uma Bharti, all of these people were very much in Ayodhya. So in the morning, around 10:30, these people reached the spot, and they were not right there at the Babri Masjid. Rather, around maybe half a kilometer from there was a building on top of which was a podium with a mic. So they were there, and till around maybe 11 or 12 o'clock, everything was fine. But the crowd had swelled a lot. And it is then that, people saw one young man running and climbing the dome of the Babri Masjid. And that time, in fact, on the podium in the nearby building, it was Uma Bharti who was giving a speech. And Uma Bharti told others that someone has climbed the domes. And then L.K. Advani took the mic and started appealing to people to come down. But as happens, when there's a large crowd, one person climbs, then other people run to climb the dome. And suddenly the entire swelling crowd of that place had climbed on the Babri Masjid. And the police and the CRPF took no action. Perhaps also because there could have been serious bloodshed, whatever the reason. And within 1 or 2 hours, the mosque came down.
And how did things proceed after that? Was there any immediate action that was taken in the matter?
The first thing that happened was, of course, the Ram Temple movement gave the BJP a big boost, but it also became quote-unquote politically untouchable. So the moment the masjid came down, after that, L.K. Advani resigned as the leader of opposition. BJP governments in 3 states were dismissed, including in UP. RSS and Bajrang Dal were banned. VHP was banned. So all this happened, and L.K. Advani had to go into political wilderness for some time, and BJP had to bring Vajpayee out, because Vajpayee was the only man in the major leader in the party who had not been associated directly with the movement. So Vajpayee was brought out as a consensus builder. At the same time, the central government in 1993 January acquired 67 acres of land on that site. That became a very sanitized kind of a site. The Ramlala idol was very much there, because when the demolition had taken place, an idol had been consecrated. So that entire land was acquired by the central government. That apart, there was also the Justice Liberhan Commission that had been set up by the center to investigate what happened. So in 2009, first of all, the Liberhan Commission report came, which said that there was a conspiracy to demolish the mosque and named many BJP leaders. 2010 came the judgment of the Allahabad High Court on the Ayodhya title suit between the Hindu and Muslim litigants. So the Allahabad High Court divided disputed land into 3 equal parts, giving 2 to Hindu litigants and 1 to the Muslim litigants, which means 2/3 of the land was awarded to the Hindus and 1/3 to the Muslims. Now both parties challenged it in the Supreme Court, and it was in 2019 that the Supreme Court came out with its judgment, and a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court unanimously awarded the entire disputed land to the Hindu litigants. And that paved the way for the coming of the Ram Temple. A trust was formed, and the trust eventually has now made the Ram Temple.
And Vikas, right now there are 2 other cases that have similarities to the Ayodhya case and are also somewhat related to it. The Gyanvapi Mosque in Varanasi and the Shahi Idgah in Mathura. Could you talk a little about them?
So the conventional kind of collective memory, which is not recorded history, but a kind of a collective memory, associates Ayodhya with the birthplace of Ram and sees Kashi as the city of Lord Shiva and sees Mathura as the Krishna Janmabhoomi. So there has been a legend which dates back to very old days that these three sacred sites for the Hindus, they saw demolitions of temples in medieval times. In fact, some of them are also documented. You can find them in history books. For instance, the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi was demolished more than once. And the present Kashi Vishwanath temple that you find in Varanasi was built by the Holkars. The Holkars of Indore, the Marathas, Ahilyabai Holkar. Now, close to that is the Gyanvapi Mosque. So, there's a belief that, when a demolition took place in medieval times, this mosque was constructed. So, there's a demand for restoration of that for the Hindus. And there was also a survey recently, it was in news last year, of the Vasu Khana there. Similarly, there have also been demands of survey at Mathura. And in that case, right now, the Allahabad High Court allowed a survey and the Supreme Court has put it on hold. So these are also two disputes that have been there and which may arise in the near future.
And next we talk about the Congress's Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra. Earlier this month, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi embarked on the second leg of his nationwide Bharat Jodo Yatra. You may recall the Congress leader's first nationwide rally, during which he travelled from the country's southernmost tip in Tamil Nadu all the way to Jammu and Kashmir up north. This time around, the Congress leader will be travelling across the breadth of the country, from east to west India. And at present, Rahul, accompanied by several of his Congress colleagues and supporters, is touring the state of Assam.
So as you know, the Yatra first began in Manipur and then it entered Nagaland, after which it entered Assam through Jorhat district. Amongst the other significant places it went through was Majuli before it entered Arunachal for a day, and then it came back into Assam through Lakhimpur district, and then it went forward to Sonitpur district, and then to Nagaon district, Moregaon district, and then it came to Kamrup, which is where Guwahati is. And from here onwards, it's going to move forward to Borpeta and Dhubri and so on before it ultimately enters West Bengal.
That was the Indian Express's Sukrita Baruah, who covers Assam for the paper. And according to Sukrita, the Congress's journey in the state so far has been pretty tumultuous. Ever since they arrived in Assam, several Congress leaders have accused the BJP of deliberately disrupting the Yatra. According to the party, BJP workers have repeatedly attempted to attack their convoy and have assaulted Congress leaders, a charge that the BJP has point-blank denied. In fact, Rahul Gandhi was also stopped for over 2 hours while on his way to Bordua Than, a holy pilgrimage site in Nagaon, Assam. And on Tuesday, Congress leaders were injured after a scuffle broke out between those taking part in the Yatra and the police as the convoy tried to enter Guwahati. And later, Chief Minister Himanto Biswa Sarma directed the police to file an FIR against Gandhi for quote-unquote provoking a crowd. In this segment, the Indian Express's Sukrita Baruah joins us to talk about the Congress in Assam. So Sukrita, it's been a couple days since the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra entered Assam. What are some of the hurdles they say they faced so far?
Right, so, the first part of the Yatra as it passed through Manipur, Nagaland and even Arunachal was pretty quiet, without any notable incident, I think. But then once it entered Lakhimpur after the leg in Arunachal, and they shared a video of some people tearing down posters at night. So they allege that these are BJP workers who are tearing down Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra posters ahead of the Yatra passing through Lakhimpur from Arunachal. And then they also shared visuals of 2 vehicles which are damaged. So they have alleged that their workers were trying to put up posters and then they were assaulted by who they claim were BJP workers. Following that, when the Yatra was passing through Sonitpur district, the Yatra was supposed to carry out a procession through this area called Jamuguri Hat. Now, before the procession could enter that area, there was already a group of people waving BJP flags and other saffron flags. And even before the bus in which Rahul Gandhi has been traveling entered the area, a convoy comes ahead. So there, one of the workers who was in one of the cars was kind of pulled at, and a journalist's camera was snatched away when he tried to kind of record that. So that happened. And then when the convoy moved through the area and Rahul Gandhi's bus passed, they were shouting slogans of Modi, Modi. And I think things got a little heated, and that's when Rahul kind of stepped off the bus. And in that kind of scuffle that followed, the Assam Congress president, Bhupen Bora, there's a visual of him literally being head-butted by one of the people in the crowd. So he sustained an injury to his face because of that. So that, of course, was a major incident. I mean, the Assam Congress chief was injured in a road scuffle, right, with people who were trying to disrupt the yatra.
Right, and they faced another hurdle while trying to enter Guwahati on Tuesday. Why were they stopped from entering, and how did they respond?
So the Congress had kind of at the very beginning put up a proposed route. And in that, they had said that we are going to pass through Guwahati city, interact with people, hold a public address and all of that. And from the very beginning, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has resisted that, and he has said that we will not allow the yatra to pass through Guwahati city. There is no way we will be giving permission for this because it will create major chaos and congestion because it is a congested city. And said that in no way are we going to give permission for the yatra to pass through Guwahati. And Congress leaders have, been calling that an abuse of power to disrupt the yatra's movement. And they've repeatedly said that, even if we don't get permission, we will meet people in Guwahati. So today, when the yatra was coming through from Meghalaya, it was coming along the highway. And at this area in Guwahati called Khanapara, there's a road which moves away from the highway and takes you into the city, the main part of the city from the highway. So at that particular area, that point of entry into the city, the yatra was met with heavy barricading and huge police presence. So obviously they were not going to be allowed in. So when they saw this, a number of Congress workers on foot, they pushed through these barricades, and that resulted in a confrontation with the police who pushed back at them. And in that, Bhupen Bora was injured once again and another significant Congress leader who was injured was Zakir Hussain Sikdar, who is the working president of Assam Congress. So there was quite a few people who were involved in this scuffle that took place today. Following that, what Rahul Gandhi said, he was on top of his bus and there were a lot of Congress workers who assembled there. And he said that, this particular action of pushing against the barricades was a show of our strength. We don't intend to break the law and enter the city, but it was a show of strength for us to show you that it's not because we can't do it or because we're weak. We don't want to break the law. And then they continued along the route.
Yeah, and on Monday morning, Rahul Gandhi was stopped for over 2 hours while he was on his way to Bordua Than. Can you explain the significance of this particular shrine?
So the day that Rahul was scheduled to visit the Bordua Than was January 22, which was the day for the consecration of the idol at the Ayodhya Mandir. Because of that particular day, of course, it becomes really significant. Congress leaders have categorically stated, right, that they would not be attending the ceremony in Ayodhya, and most of the prominent leaders were in Assam, right, for the yatra. So they were scheduled to pass through Nagaon. So what Congress leaders said that since we were passing through Nagaon anyway on that day, we thought we must visit Bordua Than. Now, Bordua Than is the birthplace of Srimanta Shankardev, who is one of the tallest spiritual, religious, cultural figures in Assam. He's considered to be a saint. He was a Vaishnavite reformer in the state. And Bordua Than is considered to be one of the most sacred sites for Assamese Vaishnavites.
Right. And did Rahul Gandhi eventually end up visiting the shrine?
So Rahul was scheduled to visit that, and the day before January 22, when the Assam Chief Minister was kind of giving a briefing of security measures in place ahead of the ceremony on January 22 and other measures, he said that he appeals and he requests that the Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra that Rahul not visit Bordua Than on that particular day. And his rationale was that, in the media then there will be these two images of the consecration happening and of Rahul visiting the Than, which will make it seem like there's a competition between Bordua Than and the Ram temple, which he said shouldn't be the case. So that is what he said. And soon after the Chief Minister said this, the Bordua Than Management Committee wrote to the local MLA saying that, under any circumstances, we cannot allow Rahul to visit the shrine before 3 p.m. on that particular day, saying that during the morning while the ceremony is going on, we're expecting thousands of people to gather there. So it's not going to be possible for us. So despite this though, when come January 22, the Yatra headed towards Bordwathan from where they were spending the previous night. And when they reached this place called Haibargaon in Nagaon, once again they were met with barricades and police presence. So there they didn't attempt to push through anything, but they sat down there and they were there for almost 2 hours. And finally, there was some kind of negotiation and discussion and give and take. And the local MP and MLA, who are both from the Congress, Gaurav Gogoi and Shivamani Bora, they were allowed to cross the barricade. They went to Bordwathan and came back. And after that, the Yatra proceeded with the rest of the day's schedule.
Right. And what does the BJP have to say about these allegations of, assault and vandalism?
As for the incident that happened in Lakhimpur, right, it's something that happened at night. I don't think there was anyone to actually witness what happened. So when I spoke to the Assam BJP president, he claimed that the BJP is not involved in any way with that particular incident and accused the Congress of trying to grab some publicity with this. But we were there when the BJP flags were kind of being waved at Sonitpur district. And, the chief minister had given this particular messaging on Twitter that went something along the lines of, the next day, the Ram Mandir consecration ceremony was going to happen and that, that these young men have full right to celebrate Ram and shout Jai Shri Ram. And Rahul Gandhi shouldn't be perturbed by that because there's this particular visual of Rahul kind of pushing his way out of the bus and approaching these people. So the chief minister accused him of instigating this crowd. So that's what he said in that particular case. But here also, because Congress leader Jairam Ramesh said that his vehicle was among those that had been attacked that particular day. And Jairam Ramesh had said that this must be the chief minister's doing. So the chief minister had directed the Assam police to inquire into the allegations as well, to register a case and inquire into the allegations. As to what happened in Guwahati on Tuesday, the chief minister really lashed out at the Congress and accused it of employing, I quote, Naxalite tactics, and said that there was a pre-decided route and that, Congress provoked and instigated police. I mean, just being provocative by trying to deviate from the route. And he's ordered the state police to register a case against Rahul Gandhi for this disruption, that, as he calls it.
And in the end, we bring you a quick update from Mumbai. The local municipal corporation in Mumbai carried out demolitions of nearly a dozen structures in the Muslim-dominated Haidary Chowk area of Mira Road 2 days after a clash between members of two communities broke out in the area. The clash occurred when a group passing by in their vehicles with saffron flags and chanting Jai Shri Ram was stopped by local residents. An argument ensued with people from another community, leading to subsequent violence. The local police have arrested 13 individuals for the violence that occurred on Sunday. Yesterday, officials of the Mira Bhayandar Municipal Corporation took a bulldozer to Haidary Chowk, close to where the violence erupted, and proceeded to demolish structures. Many of those arrested in the violence are said to be locals of Haidary Chowk. Soon after the violence broke out, BJP leader Nitesh Rane posted a message on X on Monday morning saying, "What happened in Mira Road yesterday, remember one thing, will thrash every person involved. Jai Shri Ram." You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. It was written and produced by me, Rahel Philippos, Shashank Bhargav and Niharika Nanda. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone who you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.